Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the True Story News podcast. I've been trying to get stuff out. I've been getting beat up. Work was very, very, very difficult. And I've been trying to get away. I tried to jump on my main channel and started to get that popping again, and then I just get inundated. Like, these clients come out of nowhere, put me on 2 weekly shows, and I'm just like, damn. There goes my my plans to post regularly, and then I end up kind of peekabooing my subscribers, and that wasn't my intention. So let me jump here on the podcast, and I'm going to talk about the programmed mind, and I'm going to use many examples to describe the programmed mind, and I'm going to talk about why it's important to discuss it, analyze it, and come up with solutions to navigate through programmed minds. They're in your family. They're in your friend groups. They're everywhere. Most people around you operate in the hive mind.
We don't really go through life feeling that murder or theft will be legalized in the future. But fear of a society in which everyone has been brainwashed is one of the most common themes of science fiction. Why? In part because it's something we already have to deal with constantly. Simply by existing in society, we are constantly subject to attempts to manipulate, sway, or indoctrinate us. Some level of it is necessary because children need to be educated in proper behavior, not just academic knowledge. But we know all too well that privacy and freedom can be eroded away for even apparently benevolent reasons. And we know there's no shortage of non-benevolent folks too. So we could end up with a dystopian nightmare, again something common in science fiction, and nowhere better done than in George Orwell's novel 1984, a terrifying story set in a dystopia of constant surveillance and indoctrination. Let's take a moment to better define what we mean by mind control and what types of techniques need to be considered. There are, of course, levels to the intrusiveness of mind control. At the lowest level, there is simple influence, like when parents, educators, journalists, and others simply show and tell you things aimed at getting you to view things a certain way. If those people are your only source of information, their influence will shape your thinking for a long time, even after you're away from them. When that influence becomes more direct and is aimed at shaping your political behavior, it morphs into propaganda. Subliminal methods is quite a broad category, and it includes some well-proven techniques used in movies and advertising and by persuasive speakers. What they all have in common is that they exploit the fact that we can only consciously process part of the information we take in, and much of it gets processed only unconsciously.
And why I talk about celebrity cases, I'm going to use one of my favorite things to talk about, which is Bill Cosby. And why I use these examples is because, a lot of people in the spiritual communities, they avoid these topics. They avoid celebrity news and gossip because I have the impression that they feel that spiritual, information is above that, when I disagree. We are on different assignments. Source players, we're on different assignments. And for a lot of us, for most of us, it's not our job to wake people up. It's our job to worry about ourselves and being the best version of ourselves on our own respective journey. That is our main concern. But for some of us, it is our job. It is our calling. It's why I came here. I'm doing what I came here to do, and I know that. And with source players and light workers, it's like we're on different branches of the military. People have different styles. People have different approaches. People come at things differently in order to raise the collective consciousness. And I'm on my job doing it my way. And one of those things that people relate to, anything that people are interested in, you can use as opportunities to red pill and raise the collective consciousness. And once again, it's not everybody's job to do that. You worry about yourself. But for those of us who do have that calling or that mission. There's strategic ways to do that. And this is why I use these examples, because it is a way to show people the system at work, the machine at work. And when you realize that everybody believes this nonsense, I can't believe I believed this. And it's just like common knowledge. Everybody just believes this bullshit. What else did they fool us about? What else does everybody believe that is wrong? And it should excite you to emancipate your mind and wake up out of programming. All is mind. And you realize the power that they have over the masses when you can show them one example where everybody has this thing wrong. And I can confidently say that on my small channel that, listen, I broke down the truth. Mainstream media is against me, shadow banning, the powers that be, celebrities, everybody shares the hive mind, but the truth is the truth. And when you hold that torch of the truth, there's nothing that can come against you. There's nothing that, anyone can come to my channel and say, oh, he doesn't know what he's talking about. You're going to have to, they just ignore. I can't deal with that. I'm not ready to process that. But everything he's saying makes so much damn sense. But I'm programmed and I can't break programming. And so I'm just going to not see that. But you can't ignore what I say. So let me give you an example of the program mind and how Bill Cosby came up again. I've been avoiding people lately, and because I've been very protective of my energy, because I need to be protective of my energy. And, we live in a very, very demonic realm, overtaken by psychotic people. And there's a lot of disrespect of the male energy, masculine energy. And, you have to be protective of your energy and who you let into your energy space. And there's a lot of people, even high vibrational source players, who react in lower frequencies and use you, project a narrative onto you. And not to say that I'm innocent, like, no, there's things that I did. I'm not saying that I'm faultless, but there's an approach that you should have with other source players that is in a spirit of love, not judgment, condemnation, and you did this. And when you make yourself a victim, you point the finger and you judge and you condemn, that is in the lower frequency. The ego makes us do those things and behave that way and see ourselves as victims and take things personally and judge and condemn, when a simple conversation can let you understand that, okay, at the end of the day, this is a good person. He's in the light, and maybe he didn't do things correctly. And then when you have a conversation, you give that person a little respect. You understand that there's things that make people tick. There's things that people do, or do things that you just didn't understand why they didn't do that or didn't say that you perceive. Your mind created something that, you chose to see it as deception, when maybe that person is just really struggling with communication in certain areas, or maybe this person was thinking this. There's all sorts of things that could be the reason why something transpired the way it did. But what we do is we fall victim to projections and creating narratives and making villains and heroes in our stories. And that was done to me. And I had to back away from, trusting my energy with people that I thought, it's neither here nor there. You have to live learning from people, learning lessons from pain, learning from the mistakes you made. If you're not living fully in your integrity, living fully in your honesty, even if it's not, even if it's just, passively done, you are the reason why everything happens to you. It's nobody else's fault. You brought it to yourself. And if people are reacting to you a certain way, you made it happen, and you get to analyze, why did this happen? Why did this happen? And you also get to learn from their reaction, even when it's a bad reaction. When your spirit is telling you they're operating in their lower frequency and this is hurtful, you still learn. Why? What did I do to do this, to cause this? Okay, I could have done that. Could have lived in a better state of integrity. I could have been more forthright and honest. I could have done this. But their reaction is not something that you judge. You learn from it. Okay, resource players, you learn, I don't want to be treated like that. You don't want to treat people the way that you feel. So you learn, okay, about reaction, negative reaction and projections. So you learn from all sides of the issue, of the same issue, what to do and what not to do. You learn from other source players, their good things and their mistakes and their projections onto you. You learn from your mistakes and the things that you did, or your dishonesty, whatever it is, and you level up. So long story short, I had to take a break for a while, step away from people energetically, and really work on myself, meditate, and really things just open up. Things open up. Things get cleared from your energy space, and you feel like, okay, energetically, you're making space for better connections, more respectful connections. Now that you've learned to live up to a certain standard, and people will treat you better, when you've unlocked those doors. I digress. So now that I felt better, and I felt stronger, and I felt more confident to, not be reclusive, because that's a mistake. I've done that a lot. Like, I work all day, all night, and don't leave. And then what happens is I get very weird and eccentric, and you lose social skills. So, like, while I was working on myself and meditating and staying away from people, I realized, okay, I got to get out. I got to meet people. And that's what I did. And here comes the program, folks. I went out and, just started to go out in town and meet people, and, met these people, and met this, this woman that we had a great conversation. We had a great communication flow going, and it felt good momentarily just being a normal person. I don't really drink that much anymore, but I'm in a party town. Not really a party town, but I'm in Florida by the beach. So what are you going to do? You're going to go hang out in the neighborhood. So I'm meeting people, I'm hanging out, and we're having a great conversation, and we're talking, and it felt good to be a normal person talking about nothing, because I like to talk about very complex things. My niece sent me the Kabbalion. We're talking about Hermetic. So that's my norm. And I understand it's not, my norm is not normal for a lot of people. So it felt good to be normal, hanging out, having a drink, talking about stuff, and not in a way that I want to be inauthentic, because there's only so much of that I can take before I'm like, okay, I need to change my scene. So I was in that, enjoying small talk for the time being. And then sure enough, boom, I don't even know how, Bill Cosby came up. So I'm like, oh boy, here we go. And I'm talking with this woman who really took a liking to me initially, but this is where things went south, because I don't walk things back. And when you hit one of my things, it's like, I'm not going to concede delusions. I'm not going to, it's not going to, no. So we were having a conversation, and I got triggered. And I have to work on that, because I came face to face with the programmed mind when it came to this topic. There's other things that, you just, when you're talking with programmed people, you let it go, you let it go, you let it go. Bill Cosby was something I've been doing videos about for years, and this person had no idea. And I didn't tell that person that I'm a, content creator who has talked about this ad nauseum. But I was triggered because, and you have to be patient with the programmed mind, because they've been doing this to us since we were children. They've been programming us. They've been working us down. They've been dumbing us down and getting our minds soft and ready for programming. And I'm an open-minded, liberated mind, high vibrational source player. And it's easier for me to just process things. And I give someone that same respect. Like, you're like me. Why can't you hear what I'm saying? because they're programmed, and you have to be patient with that. And it's not like you're better than these people. It's just they have not woken up out of certain programs, and they don't understand. And to quote Noam Chomsky that I always keep quoting in several videos, the general public doesn't even know that they don't know. They don't know that they're programmed. And why I got triggered was because the programmed mind has trouble understanding belief versus believing things versus knowing things. She was telling me all these things that she believed, but she wasn't respecting the things that I was trying to explain to her that I knew. And, you know, this generation has been just damaged. They've been socially engineered and just ruined. Everybody is just, most women under 50 right now are feminist ideologues. And that has done a number on society. I'm just not going to be dishonest about that or inauthentic. I'm just going to speak my truth. It's not good. And one of the problems with being an ideologue is they're fact challenged because it's emotional reasoning, not logical reasoning. And we were going back and forth, and I was respectful for what she was saying, but I started to get triggered because she was not processing what I was telling her that I knew. She was telling me all the nonsense and stuff and the talking points and the Me Too talking points that she believed emotionally. And I respect that. But she could not process the things that I knew. What did I know? Well, she was telling me talking points. She did not know any of the accusers' names. She did not know any of the statements they made. She didn't know any of the things that I do, having attended the trials and researched this thing. She didn't know that many of them were, not all of them, of course, but many of his accusers were convicted criminals, arrested for fraud, prostitution, drug trafficking, all sorts of things. And when you choose to believe things without evidence, you should take that sort of stuff into consideration. So I kind of dropped that, were you aware that blah, 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 blah. And it's not to say someone's not a victim, but when you're just believing things and giving me feminist ideologue rhetoric, did you know that these people that you're talking about, a lot of them were criminals, arrested for this, 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 and this? More feminist rhetoric and, talking points and women, always generalizing. That's what ideologues do because they're programmed. They can't speak specifically about the subject right here that we're talking about. I'm not talking about women across the board. I'm talking about this Cosby case. Did you know that a lot of them were criminals, convicted criminals, liars? Did you know that? Oh, escaped into rhetoric. Okay. Did you know that a lot of them were bagged for inconsistencies? Their stories didn't add up. I was in the trials. Their stories didn't add up. So the media was actually covering for these women whose stories were falling apart. And I was able to tell her name by name by name. She's just like, fluoride's there, blink, 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 and then comes back with more rhetoric and emotional talking points. Again, these are things that I know. I'm not giving you an opinion. I'm telling this person facts. And I was getting a little triggered that, not being respectful that she's programmed, that you're not processing facts that I'm telling you. This is not my opinion. Their stories didn't add up and they were inconsistent. That's why till this day, they put him in jail and had to take him out. Like nothing was working with this. Their stories don't add up. That's a fact. That's a fact. The stories were coming undone with all of them. Did you know that all of them were being coached and prepped by Gloria Allred and the media? Their stories changed through the years, and they're all working together on lawsuits, trying to pursue lawsuits. Did you understand that? Blink, 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 fluoride's there. And then I said something very rude eventually. The drinks were flowing. And I have that side of myself where I'm working on balancing my shadow because it comes out. This is why I'm a laid back kind of guy. Never try to get, because I don't like to go there because I do have a side that, and we're drinking and the drinks are flowing. And she said something along the lines, trying to and this is what programmed people do. They still think that they have the high ground. And that's what's a trigger for me. They still believe emotionally, like narcissistically, like they somehow have the high ground, even though she was getting trounced. And it's not about winning, I'm winning, score, no. But she had nothing to say against the things that I know based on all this fluff that she believed emotionally, and she couldn't respond to that. And I got very impatient with it. And she's made some kind of statement, like, she still had the high ground because ideologues feel that they're right because they're well-intentioned, and their well-intentioned emotions trick them, fool them, and they don't concede that there's a possibility that what you're saying is incorrect. And something about agreeing to disagree, and I just sat back and said, well, frankly, something along the lines of, frankly, I don't respect what you think because what you're doing is not thinking at all. And like I said, I was a little saucy at this point, and sometimes I don't give a F. And I said it, and she got up and left. And that was wrong for me to say. That was but again, it was a trigger because when you're here for this is your mission, and you're talking to a programmed mind face to face, the very thing I'm here to shatter, to fight, programming, and you're face to face with it, and you can see it's like titanium plate. You can't get anything through. It gets a little frustrating. But what I said was wrong. It was very, very, very disrespectful. So much so that I actually had her information, and I called her the next day. And I checked the text. We had a text exchange, and I still walked it down. Like, I did not walk it down. Like, basically, I said what I said. So I was an a-hole. Like, whatever. And I looked at the text, and I'm like, oh, damn. So I hit her up and apologized profusely and said, listen, I'm not going to walk back anything that I said because I believe every word that I said, but there's no reason for me to ever be disrespectful like that to you. And I apologize. You can have your opinion. I can have mine. There's no reason for me to behave that way or be an a-hole to you. That's very disrespectful, and that's not who I am. And I want to apologize to you for that. She was very, very impressed with my apology and wanted to hang out again. But, I made it clear I apologized because that was wrong. You don't need to be, like that. I had a moment of weakness where I was triggered, and then I further explained it came with a little passion. I'm actually a content creator, and I actually talked about that subject. So there was a little more passion with that subject than other subjects, and that's where that came from. So please accept my apology. And it was cool. But then in another conversation, she threw a dig again. And I'm like, wow. She said something about talking about something, and she said, my ex-husband, his family would like to be just like Cosby's, but before he got raped. And I'm like, did she not just... I thought we moved past that and we would never discuss that. But this is what the lower frequency people who operate in the lower frequency, who are programmed, this is what they do. They hate people who are on a higher frequency, who shatter delusions. They attack you. And if you're a truth speaker and you challenge this matrix about any subject, you get attacked. You get attacked because they know that there's something about you that they can't put their finger on, but they want to believe in their heart and soul and their emotionally that you are wrong. You are wrong, and I'm going to show you, and I'm going to keep throwing darts at you. Everything is energy. We live in an ether. Everything is energy. And when you're on a lower frequency and you're programmed, and someone's ushering truth or a different wave or a different temperature, you want to put that energy out. Like, listen, they want to attack you. That's why people who tell the truth, Socrates on down to present day, they're attacked, they're killed. People can't handle it because we live in a dimension of lies. This dimension is all about deception. and lies, and people who are habituated to the deception and lies. And, so I use these cases like Bill Cosby to wake people up and move on from there to spirituality. The cases fall apart. Nothing's working. The women's stories are coming undone. What do? They use the same tricks. When he got released out of jail, they made a documentary. We need to talk about Cosby. Keep the programming going. They do the same tricks over and over and over again. And we live in a realm in which they do agendas. They have agendas. There's certain people who are attacked for specific reasons. Sometimes it's as simple as racial attacks. They attack racial, black icons, because it's a COINTELPRO agenda. They actually exposed that in 1971. Keep black criminality in the consciousness of America, which is why people know about OJ. Everybody's on, anytime there's a black person accused of a stupid idiot white supremacist. Well, what about OJ? The reason why we talk about OJ all the time and not Robert Blake, not Phil Spector, not all these other people is because America makes it so. This is why we talk about R. Kelly, he's in jail, not Woody Allen and all these other people, Elvis, all these people who fiddled with kids. This is why we keep talking about Cosby, Michael Jackson, because America makes it so. We live in an evil, demonic realm that does these agendas, and some people are taken out, literally, or character assassinated, because sometimes it's just racial, but at other times it's the threat to power that they caused. And if you look at their ambitions, whether it be buying branches of media, things that they threatened the status quo, they were taken down. Michael Jackson's another one. People programmed to believe whatever they made up about him. And you can't get people to break programming with that narrative. There's another person that I defended, and I've used that example by breaking it down. Listen, the man was, and you don't have to, this is not an opinion thing. This is common sense, logic, reason, facts, evidence, research. This is being logical. When you form an opinion, you have to respect information in hand. There is truth and there's untruth. There's things that are real, there's things that are false. The man was investigated. Okay, there was allegations and rumors that we heard. Yeah. Based on those rumors and allegations, he was investigated by the FBI for a decade. Came up with zero evidence against him. They dropped it. The FBI investigated Michael Jackson for 10 years. They found nothing. Went through his computers, went through everything. And listen, that's not going to happen. If they have something on you, they're not going to let you go and just quietly drop the investigation. But that's exactly what they did. They quietly dropped the investigation because Michael Jackson did not do a damn thing. Was he very eccentric? Yes. Did he have very, strange, odd relationships? Yeah. But was he a Absolutely not. I can't even say that word because they're going to mess with the video. But no. Actually, he was a light worker, but you can't serve two masters when you're blood in, It's a shame what happened to him, but, but no, he was not, guilty of that. And in addition to being investigated by the FBI for over a decade, he was also thrown in court and had a trial. Not guilty. 13 counts. All 13 counts. Not just some things. All 13 counts. Goose egg. Not guilty. So here we have an accused man investigated by the FBI for a decade, released, freed, dropped, thrown in court for everything thrown at him. Not guilty. All across the board. 13 counts. What do? They make another movie, a documentary, Leaving Neverland. Oh, you see what Michael did? And these program normies are dangerous. They believe whatever you show them on TV because they know that's where they have them. They don't think. They can't think. They can't use logic and reason like what I just told you. If you're trying to figure out what happened, hey, you telling me the FBI investigated him and they found nothing? Oh, okay. He had a trial. And everyone that had anything to say about him, to accuse him, came to the court, and he was found not guilty on 13 counts. You know what? Maybe I can privately still have my suspicions, but I have to drop this. No, the people are not going to let it go because the TV owns their mind and it controls their mind, and they don't understand that there's certain targeted people for a reason. And, there's people who are here to break these systems of control, mind control. And I use these cases to red pill people to see the truth. Look what the system, the machine, they constantly attack people who they want you to believe is the villain. They constantly attack people who they want you to want to believe that is the hero. They play with people's mind. It's in the food. It's in the air. It's in the drugs they give us to dumb you down and sit you in front of that damn box and program you. And people are detached from reality and programmed, and they cannot use logic and reason. And the masses collectively believe nonsense. And I've been writing since I was a teenager, exposing so many different things. Like, for example, the terror attacks. A lot of them are fake. I've been talking about it since I was a kid, like writing in my school papers. Like, listen, they set this up. Intelligence agencies became too big and bloated, and they're not necessary. So in order to keep their importance relevant in our society, they stage their own events. This is the corruption of power, and people can't see the forest through the trees. And, to this day, they're walking through TSA, stripping, doing, like opening their bags. This has nothing to do with terror. It has everything to do with the NWO agenda that was to enslave you into a fascist police state. And things were going according to plan, which leads me to the jab agenda. People don't understand that when they do something, when you're in the state of fear, they're never going to take it back. Like, for example, 9/11, which I'm not going to make this a conspiracy theory video because I think this is going on YouTube. But your opinions about 9/11, program people have no capability of understanding anything because they're not on that level to even question. And you just got to respect that. But for those who do know, they had the Patriot Act ready to go right after 9/11, and it changed the world. It changed our world. It changed security measures. It changed the rights they have over you coming into establishments. To this day, I'm from New York, Staten Island, New York. They still have dogs at the ferry, sniffing dogs. And nobody can use their brain. You know how many people they caught? Terrorist attacks? 0. They collapsed the whole damn. They've done all this for 0 probability of a terrorist attack getting through. And the terrorist attacks that most people do know of that hit the news, they created. FBI, CIA created those. Miami 7, Newburgh 4, shoe bomber. They create these spectacles. And like I said, I'm not going to make this a conspiracy video because I'm talking about the programmed mind. We just saw what happened in recent history. We just lived through the system showing you all the mechanisms that I talk about with Cosby, that I talk about with Michael Jackson. They use the same tools of deception to make people believe nonsense. And to make people believe that this juice is what you need to return to society, and we're going to, you need to do this, or you're going to get fired. And everybody was so programmed and brainwashed by the same things that make people believe those other stories. Just susceptible to media programming. They believed everything that they were told, and they were turning on family members. People are dangerous. The programmed mind is dangerous. This is why I do what I do, because we are here to smash that. Some of us, not all source players are here to do that, but a lot of us are here to smash this system and usher in a new one, because people need to be red-pilled and understand that continuing to trust and believe is your own doom. Believing the psychotic psychopaths and trusting the system. People are trusting the pharmaceutical companies. And since when do we do that? Since when was that intelligent? And they've created this thing. They use fear. They use the same tricks, the same schemes, the same stratagem. 9/11, they had everyone freaked out so much that people were ready to give up any right they had and for safety. And you know what? You can sniff me. You can do this. You can do that. And it is still here 20 years later. The things that they implemented, they do not reverse it. It is there to stay. So they use that time period where something just happened. Sometimes it can be a legitimate, real thing that happened. Sometimes it could be that they're just exploiting. Sometimes it can be a completely orchestrated thing. Regardless, they use these times where everyone is afraid to rush something out, push something out, push new laws in. And they know that the populace is afraid and susceptible and willing to give up rights and accept the agenda. Hegelian dialectic. The reaction is, and they're giving you the synthesis. They're giving you the solution. And people are ready for it, and they accept it every time with open arms. 9/11, they did the same thing. There's so many times in history where they come in, something just happened, and they're going to come in with the solution, and everyone is ready for it. And they accept it blindly, and they don't question. They did it again. Everybody was freaked out by this virus, and some people lost people. And I'm not going to go into why that is, because like I said, this is not that kind of video. I would like this to be on YouTube. And when there was a justifiable amount of fear, they played it up in where? Legacy media. And not to say that all media is bad, because I'm not here to say that. There's so many people who I know personally who work in media, who are exemplary and who do a good job. They're good doctors. It's good everything. But the systems are corrupt. And legacy media had an agenda to promote fear. And while the fear was high, they knew that they were coming with the synthesis, which was the juice. And that synthesis was part of a new world order to merge big tech with government and healthcare and create a new system of control. You were poisoned. I'm not going to lie to you. You were poisoned. And you're going to find out to what extent. I suggest, heavy metal cleaners, blood, cleaning the blood. I tried to tell people not to do it. People caved and they listened because they're susceptible. They were afraid. Some people felt pressured because they had to go to work. And the job said, hey, you can't come back. And so they folded to the pressure. I didn't advise that, but I understand. And they tried to create this system of control where you can't fly here, you can't work here, you can't do this. And it is such an evil Orwellian fascist existence that we were warned about. And people like myself and lots of people were trying to say, hey, they're doing it again. They're exploiting your fear. They're pushing a program on you. They're exploiting your fear because they have something planned, waiting. And the programmed people, the programmed mind became society's danger. And they kept the rest of us in check. People were afraid to speak on social media because the programmed normies would shout you down. They guilted you. They, where's your mask? Where's your this? Where's your that? They policed programmed mind, policed everyone else. And they were counting on enough programmed people who can't think, who cannot use their mind, who cannot see through the programs. And they were counting on it. They were counting on enough programmed people to keep the whole system in check, to pressure and guilt everybody else. And these are the things that we are here to destroy and crush and change moving forward. And we are going to do that. All their plans are going to fail. That's what a lot of us who chose to be here in this crazy time are here to do. It's all going to fail. A lot of the psychopaths, people think that they're these genius. Well, they are. They're very smart, but they're very unwise. It's almost like they're really stupid, but they're not stupid. They don't have people who don't have soul, who don't have light. The psychopaths, They're very unwise. They don't have what you and I have. They don't have connection to higher self, your source. They don't have connection to ancestors. They don't have that kind of a high vibration to instinctively have wisdom. They don't have wisdom. They have an analytical reptilian mind, and they focus on their agendas, and they're going to fail. And we know instinctively, we vibrate a certain way to know that these things are going to fail. Light wins. But in order to make that happen, there's things that need to happen in society. This is spiritual warfare. You don't just lay down and say, light wins, because there's a lot of people in spiritual communities that just kind of love and light it up. No, there's work to do. Even if it's just working on yourself, that could be your mission. Working on yourself, being the best version of yourself, and just living as the best version of yourself is your path, and is going to affect other people positively. Some people are meant to have platforms. Some people think they need to have platforms when they don't. They'd be better working on themselves because they have more work to do on themselves. They shouldn't be running around focusing on other people, because that's not your mission. So a lot of people need to work on themselves. And a lot of white light workers, source players, are here to usher in a collective raising the vibration in different ways. Not everybody needs to be in everybody else's lane. There's ways for each of us to raise the collective vibration. And one of the ways of doing that is to have an awareness, waking up out of the system, waking up out of the programs, understanding that the good guys are not in control of these corporate entities that are running things. The good guys are not in control of these social hashtag movements. The good guys are not in control of any of these things. The bad guys are the psychopaths. Exploit your good nature and make you think that these things are good. Make you think that these programs and these Me Too, Black Lives Matter, and all these stuff are good things. But they're spearheaded by the psychopaths, and they're infiltrated. You have to live on such a vibration where you just know. Knowing is half the battle. And I'll keep saying that corny saying over and over again because it's so true. Knowing is half the battle. And when you live your life not knowing anything, not knowing that, they actually lie. They lie about so many things. They lie about big things. They lie about small things. An example of a small nonsensical things. Lizzo. They are focusing their attention on Kanye because of his latest nonsensical rants and stuff that he says. And they have things that were like months old, and they posted like it came out new. They're making it like Lizzo responded to Kanye, which she didn't do. I think they're friends. Kanye made a statement about Lizzo, and not dissing her, just saying that when she posts about being fat and, jumping around, like wearing nothing, that's what they want. They want her to be a clown. They want her to be an overweight clown. But when she says the positive, there's bots that attack her. That's what Kanye said. And actually, he wasn't wrong about that. And he said that not as an attack to Lizzo, but the media wants you to think that it is. And so they kind of took what he said out of context, and then they made this whole clip of something else that she said and made it look like she clapped back when all of that was fake. So that's a small thing that they lie to you about. And then they lie to you about huge things. They lie to you every day. Every day. I was just watching a clip of Bill Maher going in on Herschel Walker, who is a clown. He is an idiot, but kind of threw in the theory of evolution.
And finally, new rule: someone must explain Herschel Walker and how, in a supposedly sophisticated country, a person with his resume could ever be elected to office. If you have not been following this story, you need to know. Where to begin? Well, first of all, he's just a fucking idiot on a scale almost impossible to parody. Although we did once present his book called Herschel Walker, Science Talker, because he says things like, if man descended from apes, why are there still apes?
It's like they program you with subconscious seeds, and they further their lies. They just further their lies in so many strategic ways that it's just, sometimes it was exhausting, because I think the lies are so intense, so deep, so high level that sometimes I felt like, you know what, it's just hopeless. But it's not. I remember my brother, one of my videos, I kind of was venting because I felt like I wasn't reaching people, and I felt like, I don't know. But my brother and a bunch of people reached out when I said that in the video, that I wasn't going to post videos anymore. You know, my brother took the time to say, hey, no, there's people listening to you. There's friends of mine that keep talking about your videos and things you said. You are making an impact. So it's just like when he posts my videos on his page, you know, nobody would like it. And I'll see that. And he told me it's because they're afraid to like it, because the crazy masses, they're out of the woke mob of lunatics are around, and they don't want to show support. He's like, that's why. But they agree with you, and you red pilled a lot of people, and they're appreciative of what you do. And that was so nice of my brother to tell me that. I love you, bro. That was really cool. And it's helpful when people take the time to let you know that what you're doing is resonating, but you're not always going to see it in ways that, you know, the most popular channels that talk about nonsense get to see and enjoy, because they're not attacked. They're not shadow banned, you know, and they talk about things that are, you know, safe. So I'm going to probably stop here. There's so many things I can talk about, so many things I can go into. But the program mind, how to navigate. You don't wake people up. You don't try to wake people up, because not everybody is meant to. They're not on the vibration to. And even when I say that, I made the mistake of talking very spiritual around not spiritual people. Big mistake. Because what that kind of does is that sets them against you, because people are grown, they're intelligent, and it has nothing to do with intelligence, but they get indignant. That what, you know something that I don't. What, you're all spiritual and talking about vibrations, and people, they try to bait you into fights and arguments. And it's just like, you know what? Now you're stuck because you want to talk to someone who's there vibrationally. But if they're not there vibrationally, you're not trying to be arrogant or like, you know, I can't talk to you. It's not for you. But that's just the truth. That's the reality of the situation. Vibrationally, some people are just not ready for certain information and certain conversations, and things are going to sound crazy to them, and they try to force you to explain things to them like that's your job. And I'd just rather not do that. I don't have the energy to do that, and you're not going to get it anyway. No disrespect. No disrespect. You're not on that vibration, and it's like, you know, so that's something to really struggle with. Learn how to sidestep things without being inauthentic. Because, you know, I'm the type of person that'll speak my mind in any subject. But sometimes you got to choose, you got to think of the audience. And sometimes just it's not worth it to speak passionately in certain crowds. But plant seeds yet. You know, I love planting food for thought and just dropping seeds. But be careful not to linger too long in a low vibrational environment, because they're going to try you, and they're going to chastise you, because that's what the lower frequency energy forces them to do. They work for the Matrix. You ever notice in the Matrix, anyone can be Agent Smith at any time? That movie is such a metaphor for real life. People are tapped, they're stuck, and they're not red pilled, they're not awake. And anyone that you talk to, you're sitting around talking about things, and you talk about something deep. You talk about fluoride in the water, somebody raises their eye. You talk about 9/11 being an inside joke, somebody raises, Agent Smith starts raising up. And they're going to control you back down and pull your frequency back down to being a low vibrational sheep. That's what they're trying to do. So don't rattle people, don't ruffle feathers. Don't be a coward. I'm not saying avoid things, but know when it's purposeful to connect and share information, and know when it's good to just plant the seed or two, keep it moving. But program mind. Make sure you're not the one that's programmed, because there's a lot of people in spiritual communities who are programmed about certain things. They're awake on this, and this. I remember I saw a Cosby meme in the spiritual movie, and I'm going to come at people directly, because that's my job. You're not going to be here in my same timeline, furthering nonsense. I know there's a journalist, for example, Kim Iverson. I adore her because she's a real journalist in a time where journalism is just, they don't know what it is. And she too repeated the Cosby night. So you're brilliant when it comes to all these other issues, but with Cosby, you're clueless now. Like, what happened to all your journalists? Your journalist chops and your ability to dive deep. Like, we have a lot of work to do. That's why I don't leave these smaller issues out, because they're important, because people are bringing, it's like when you're in an immaculate house and you got some kids and somebody stepped in dog crap and they want to run up in your house. Like, no, clean that Cosby stuff before you come into spirituality. Clean that before you come into journalism. Clean that. Like, no, you stepped in dog crap and your shoes are dirty. Don't come around on these internet streets thinking that you're a truther and that you're a spiritual, high vibrational, truth teller, when you are just like legacy media lying about all this stuff. No, clean up, just wipe your shoes off. And that's what I'm here to do. So I don't leave out these other issues that people ignore. So dealing with the program mind, just know that a lot of people are programmed, and you too can be programmed on issues and be able to humble yourself and challenge yourself. I avoid certain conversations with people because they're so programmed, because they can't handle it. Their egos won't let them communicate and process information. Like the conversation I had with the Cosby conversation. She's a feminist ideologue. Can't think. There's other people and relationships I have with people that I know that it's not worth engaging them because they can't handle it. It's going to be an argument. It's going to be a fight. And they can't process what I'm going to tell them, even though it's something I know versus what they believe. Whether you're, it's your racial affiliation, your political affiliation, if you're feminist, you're this, you're that, you're down with LGBT. People are emotionally tied into these programs that work against your mind, because your mind is trapped by these programs. So knowing is half the battle, and knowing these programs exist and dropping your ego, really having an open mind, a free, open, liberated mind, considering all things, including the fact that you could be wrong. People can't do that. And when you live your life on that higher vibration, knowing that you know nothing, letting the ego go. Listen, I don't know anything. I'm not sure. Like, you can level up to a high vibration. There's a lot of work to do. It's a lot of work to do. There's a lot of spiritual work to do on the horizon. There's a lot of problems in this society. There's a lot of corruption of the feminine energy. There's a lot of, disrespect of the masculine energy. And I've experienced that. Like, we need each other. We're counterparts, the masculine and the feminine. And there's just a lot of normalized disrespect of men and the masculine energy in this realm. It's like, you know what? Sometimes you need the masculine energy, and the feminine energy is way more powerful and very important, but it needs sometimes male protectors. Okay, stop rubbing and looking on each other. Stop, let's put the tarot cards and the sage and the bongos down. There's a spiritual attack. Ladies, we gotta move. There's things that we need each other for. We're counterparts, the divine masculine and the divine feminine, but we're living in a realm that is removing the men. It's becoming normal to disrespect men, to do horrible things to men. And, we can't have a tribe without the divine masculine and the divine feminine. The divine feminine is definitely by far the more powerful, and not one greater than the other. Just so we have to have respect for each other as counterparts, and remember that, and respect each other. this normalized discarding of men. I think Chris Rock said men are the only people that are just thrown to the side. Like, everyone gets a conditional love. Women, children, and dogs and pets get unconditional love.
I know it's hard being a woman, but there's a coldness that you have to accept when you're a man, especially a black man. It's like the world's cold as a motherfucker, okay? And you get older, one thing I learned, only women, children, and dogs are loved unconditionally. Women, children, and dogs are loved unconditionally. A man is only loved under the condition that he provides something.
Men, we get judged if we don't pay. And we go, he didn't buy my thing. Like, we get discarded if we, there's a infraction. Kids can lie, women can lie. If a man lie, get him out of here, discard him. Like, we are treated like trash, and we got to stop doing that. We've got to start leveling up to learn how to create a new society, new earth, and respect the divine feminine and masculine. But I digress. It's very easy for me to digress. Programmed mind. Make sure you're not the programmed mind, and make sure that you are able to navigate not being triggered by the programmed mind, but being able to plant seeds with people who are programmed, and just knowing that it's out there, knowing that we live in a realm of deception, and all of us, to some degree, we're all at different stages of awareness, but we're all not sagacious gurus. We can all check ourselves and lift ourselves up out of programs, and just to be mindful of that. All is mind. All right, that's it for this one, guys. Till the next one. Take care. Be well.